going to be focusing on kind of the Twitter scandal last week. So for those of you who weren't around last week, just to give you a brief update on what occurred. Last week, major accounts on Twitter were hacked across the board, from Elon Musk to Bill Gates to Bill Clinton. I think Bill Clinton, certainly Joe Biden, were taken over hostilely. And your typical, Bitcoin scam, send 1 Bitcoin here, I'll send you 2 back, or send 0.1 here, I'll send you 0.2 back, was broadcast across the Twitter sphere. And the hackers were able to garner about $100,000. And again, we've commented on, hey, this wasn't really the smartest way that they could have taken advantage of this. These guys certainly could have crashed the market. Why didn't they use Monero? Why did they use BTC? And of course, kind of the articles have been out all week. But we were certainly very early to cover this last week. And we have some kind of interesting, certainly some interesting follow through on the knowledge that Coinbase and some other major exchanges may have helped prevent the quantity of funds that were sent to the malicious address from being as bad as they possibly could. So again, our first story here is going to be following up on last week's epic Twitter hack, which, despite the scope of the breach, netted the attackers, a pretty palsy 12 BTC. And today we learned that Coinbase did help prevent a much greater disaster and protected over 1,000 of their customers because they prevented them from sending Bitcoin to the Twitter attacker, right? And of course, the Twitter attacker hijacked hundreds of high-profile accounts last week in an attempt to push a send one, receive two type scam. Now, Coinbase CIO Philip Martin spoke with Forbes, and in that interview, he confirmed that if Coinbase hadn't scrambled to blacklist the attacker's wallet address, another 30.4 Bitcoin may have been scammed, worth about $278,000 today. Now, that easily was over twice what the hackers did end up managing to get away with. Now, despite Coinbase's swift action on blacklisting that address, 14 of their customers are confirmed to have fallen to the scam and together contributed only $3,000 to the actual attack. Users on other exchanges such as Gemini, Kraken, and Binance also apparently tried sending Bitcoin from their exchange account to the address, but apparently even less was stolen off of those platforms, and those exchanges too moved to block the addresses as soon as the scam came to light. Now, analytics firms are of course hot on the trail of the scammer, watching what the Bitcoin is doing closely, thanks to Bitcoin's nature as a public blockchain. And according to firms like Elliptic, some of the stolen Bitcoin has moved to exchanges and Bitcoin mixers like Wasabi Wallet. For example, Elliptic CSO Tom Robinson stated that they have tracked some of the Bitcoin to known mainstream exchanges, but they did decline to disclose the names of those exchanges for confidentiality reasons. KuCoin. Now, Robinson further said that 2.89 Bitcoin, or 22% of the total haul, was also sent to Wasabi Wallet for mixing purposes. According to Whitestream, another blockchain analytics firm, one of the attackers' known addresses has seemed to have interacted with several digital currency payment processors like Coin Payments, Coinbase, and BitPay in the past, suggesting that the hacker did not do his due diligence and potentially doxed themselves via previous online purchases made with this wallet. So again, perhaps not the most intelligent attack ever made. BitPay confirmed there was a purchase made at one of its merchants back in May of 2020 for about $25, coming from one of the attacker's known addresses. And they went on to say that part of their standard compliance procedures, or as part of their standard compliance, they will be making all details of this transaction available to the appropriate parties. And this includes law enforcement, so it's possible that the FBI may already have a lead on the attacker in this case. Coin Payments declined to comment on the matter, while Coinbase did not return any requests for comment. But if the attacker did in fact use these services in the past for completing online purchases, there's a good chance that their logs could bring them to justice. Another analytics firm, the Blockchain Intelligence Group, BIG, said a small amount, about $10, was sent to Binance. And it's speculated that the attacker may have actually been testing the waters to see if a larger amount could be moved in order to launder the proceeds, or potentially just as a way to confuse blockchain researchers, because kind of the first rule is we're not going to be able to sell on exchanges. Now, according to the Block Research, Kraken and Binance acquired Indian crypto exchange WazirX, they also received a little bit of the stolen Bitcoin. So if the Twitter attacker is watching this show and listening right now, pretty fair warning, authorities are pretty hot on your trail, and the FBI is most likely going to be coming knocking on your door relatively soon, because it's just not the most intelligent way to pull off a Twitter heist, and certainly not the most intelligent cryptocurrency to use with it. and certainly not the best way to do it, given that, you know, you made purchases with these wallets prior to using them for receiving stolen Bitcoin. So, another one bites the dust, perhaps. Now, our next story might give the Twitter hacker an idea just what to do next, though, and where to take his Bitcoin if his mom's basement is about to get raided, right? Remember, you know, that Cheeto door latch does not hold very well. So you might remember the Wirecard disaster from late last month, where one of the biggest accounting scandals in recent history took place at the German payment card business Wirecard. We covered it in this Breaking Bitcoin Bits episode right here. Will be linked down below for you guys to check out. Now, the latest update on the whereabouts of Wirecard's former chief operating officer, COO, of the now defunct German fintech company suggests that he is hiding out in Russia, where he is said to be transferring large sums of Bitcoin, so laundering his proceeds into Bitcoin. A top German business newspaper, Handelsblatt, they reported on the latest development in the manhunt for Jan Marasalek, I believe how you pronounce his name, who is currently wanted by 3 national agencies for embezzlement. And he is said to have transferred significant amounts of Bitcoin since escaping from Germany. Investigators allege that he set up fraudulent Wirecard operations in Dubai in order to orchestrate a sophisticated accounting fraud. And as head of operations for their East Asia division, he siphoned off funds that apparently were converted into Bitcoin before fleeing to Russia. So further investigative reports by German media now apparently document his extensive connections to Russia and kind of his shady contracts and business relations with suspicious individuals of interest in the Middle East and Libya. Now, this man was said to have been fascinated with cryptocurrency technology for many years, particularly its ability to move money anonymously. And in a twist of events, it seems that kind of the fox was put in charge of the hen house here. The former COO fled the country shortly after the scandal erupted in June, which forced Wirecard to file for insolvency when auditors reported that €2 billion was missing from the payment processor's balance sheet. It's the biggest scandal to ever rock a blue chip company on Germany's DAX index ever. According to auditors from the respected Ernst & Young, the money was supposedly being held in East Asian escrow accounts, but later investigation revealed that that money was in fact missing from the third-party trustees as well, because guess what? It was converted into Bitcoin. On June 18th, Wirecard fired the entire management team, and German authorities issued arrest warrants for Wirecard executives CEO Markus Braun and the COO Jan Marasalek. Now, Braun turned himself in promptly, but Marasalek, who headed up Wirecard's Asian operations, claimed he was going to be flying to the Philippines in order to follow the missing money and clear his name. Instead, he took the opportunity to disappear and begin to siphon in his ill-begotten Bitcoin. The rest, of course, is history. The company's shares fell some 90% before they filed insolvency, and the company now claims the funds may have never even existed in the first place. Instead, it was all a cover for a sophisticated scheme to steal billions of dollars in company funds by Mr. Jan. A famous investigative reporter specializing in Russian operations, Christo Groves, published details in this Bellingcat piece right here, in which he documents Marasalek's repeated trips to Russia since 2004 under multiple false passports using both commercial flights and private jets. Now, Russia, which has an unclear regulatory landscape for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, could be said to even be hostile to large Bitcoin transactions taking place inside its borders. But unclear. Russia's tough stance on Bitcoin and cybercrime in general, while it does seem to conflict with his long documented history of hopping in and out of the country during his time as Wirecard's COO, it's now starting to raise suspicion as to whether Russian intelligence is actually aware of his presence in the country and are potentially even involved in the scheme. Because, you know, certainly we've covered this with previous cryptocurrency exchanges as well. So in this regard, if the Twitter hacker is still watching, if you haven't turned off yet, you may want to make arrangements with your with your FSB KGB handlers before booking your escape flight to Moscow. But maybe try and get in touch with Jan first for some pointers on buying your future winter vacation house in Sochi with your stolen Bitcoin.